Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. I recently started ranking every Disney antagonist, to be specific, animated baddies from the House of Mouse's mainline studio and the subdivision, Disney Toon. So it's time to join me for part 3. The Firebird from Fantasia 2000. After a curious spring sprite unleashes a powerful Firebird from a volcano, the furious creature goes on to burn the forest down. I'll always stand by my opinion that this short is the best animated thing that Disney has ever made. It's a breathtaking and jaw-dropping Fantasia segment that was clearly made with passion and love. The Firebird is one of many amazing things about this masterpiece. A volcanic monster full of rage, hate and vitriol that's been designed and animated with impeccable detail. This is a lava-flooding demon that leaves a path of flame-spreading destruction. Without any relent, nothing can stop its instinctive determination to turn these woods to a crisp, and all the wild animals can do is freeze in horror. Even though this villain leaves behind a decaying forest, the Spring Sprite, despite her trauma and guilt, is able to rebuild a forest with loving restoration. It's a wonderful ending that can either be read as a call for people to never give up on saving nature, or an inspiring message about finding perseverance and self-healing after life hands you an unexpected loss or defeat. Churnabbog from Fantasia. This enormous devil is pretty much Satan himself, and quite possibly the most imposing Disney villain to date. From his glowing, soul-staring eyes to his mighty wingspan, there's a majestic confidence to this horned menace that I honestly really love. He totally owns his large grandeur and hellish legacy by commanding himself with bold and theatrical gestures. The god-tier power that he helms is scarily overwhelming too. If he wants to beckon his legion of followers, he just has to cast a shadow. If he feels like conjuring fire for entertainment, he can flicker sentient flames into thin air. His minions may be very loyal, but he doesn't return any respect back. To Churnabbog, every little imp is just one of his nighttime toys, and this monster will casually dispose of any henchman that suddenly bore him. This Fantasia segment is also set during Walpurgis Night, which is essentially spring Halloween. So, Churnabbog and his cult are basically partying on the very night when humans fear them the most, only for the big boss's shindig to be interrupted by church bells, a holy sound designed to drive demons away from the mortal realm. Creatively though, the sleeping Churnabbog actually resembles the tip of Bald Mountain itself. It's surprising that Disney very rarely brought this legend back, because he's always felt like the ultimate evil master of the House of Mouse's rogues gallery, a true villain's villain. The Kakamura from Moana. Inspired by real Polynesian mythology, these little buggers are sea pirates that are trying to steal the heart of Te Fiti from our heroes. Sure, they might seem cute, but do not let their adorability fool you, because they're mighty in numbers, making imposing obstacles a collective hive. While they lack in height, they make up for with a talent in target shooting, a skill set that includes fierce harpooning and effective stun darts. This attack range is matched by their defense, all thanks to how their armor is made from coconut. I mean, do you have any idea how hard it is to crack a coconut? On top of all this, they are quite acrobatic and speedy little guys, each one demonstrating an impeccable knack for climbing and crawling, something that aids them very well in their mission to steal the heart. However, I mainly love how their boats are basically entire communities. These enormous pirate ships not only show the huge scope of their army, but also create this charming idea of sailing villages, which is really endearing. Although, this does not stop the Kakamura from crashing all 3 of their boats into each other in the end. Stromboli from Pinocchio. When this puppet master ends up buying Pinny from Honest John and Gideon, he turns the wooden boy into his newest stage act. Stromboli is a very theatrical and expressive man, who certainly has a knack for showmanship and working off of his crowd. At the same time, he knows exactly how to utilize the novelty of Pinocchio's gimmick, all by making the boy put an emphasis on how he's a sentient puppet.
The only marionette who can sing and dance absolutely without the aid of a string.
Although, I'm not sure how all of his other puppets are performed, because we never meet any other puppeteers. Something ominous is maybe happening behind the scenes. I kinda like that. Once the show is over, it's clear that this man has way more passion for increasing his riches than the art of puppetry. Marionettes may be his forte, but making money is what brings him actual joy.
300!
The superficiality carries on into Stromboli's relationship with little Pinny. At first, the puppeteer butters up his star and lets him roam free. However, once our villain realizes that Pinocchio's freedom is the biggest risk to his scheme, he takes instant action to keep his gold mine.
You will make good firewood!
Stromboli has basically enslaved a lost little boy, and all he can think about is the capitalist potential of his child prisoner.
Your face! She will be on everybody's tongue!
Sure, Pinocchio's whimsical friends help him escape, but Stromboli had no idea that his star had fantastical advantages. Shenzi, Banzai and Ed from The Lion King 1.5. Yep, this trio of hyenas have been promoted to the roles of villains for this Lion King prequel about comic relief duo Timon and Pumbaa. It's a choice of antagonist that makes total sense, because of course a film centered on a pair of Disney sidekicks should pit our leads against the villain's minions. In the film, Shenzi, Banzai and Ed have garnered a reputation for targeting meerkats, with the constant threat as predators sending Timon's friends and family into a life of peril, as they dig tunnels to survive each day of anxiety.
All we do is dig so we can hide and hide so we can dig.
Heck, the hyena's surprise hunts are so bad that even the official lookout is a freaking mess.
Don't close your eyes! Don't look away! Somebody's gonna guard us! Somebody's gonna protect us!
I wouldn't even say that these hyenas are driven entirely by their hunger. If anything, they simply enjoy scaring their prey out of sick fun, while sassily teasing them with dark jokes about them being their dinner.
Whoa! Look at them scramble! And that's just how I like them.
I mean, despite leaving empty at the end of the day, they remain in good spirits because they got free entertainment. In the finale, Timon and Pumbaa face off against the hyenas on Pride Rock. To compensate for his low chance of beating his predators, Timon relies on his own instincts as he utilizes his talent for improv comedy to stall the hungry hyenas.
Would you do me the honor of becoming my bride? I don't think so!
While his family use their digging knack to set a trap. It's a climax that empowers the meerkats by transforming their trademark survival tactic into a strategic attack on their longtime predators, showing that these prey don't have to live in fear, because they can fight back in their own meerkat way. Lil Lightning from 101 Dalmatians 2. Lightning is the sidekick to the TV star Thunderbolt, and he's become tired of playing second fiddle to a hammy actor with too much ego. So the crooked corgi manipulates Thunderbolt into leaving his own show to become a real hero. A part of me does actually feel for this underappreciated dog star at first. It's unfair enough that the showrunners never give him any dignity, but it's also frustrating how much Thunderbolt puts his co-star down.
Sorry, little buddy, but these ladies aren't interested in the sidekick. They're here to get a big eyeful of hero!
Now, you think that Little Lightning has it easy, because he's conning a total dumbass, but Thunderbolt's enormous pride and slow wit actually make Lightning's plan very tricky, all because Thunderbolt is too dense to follow a villain's lies, which means that the corgi has to cleverly work around the celebrity dog's fluttery train of thought.
The dam breaks.
No.
The mine collapses.
No.
Do I get an evil twin? I've always wanted an evil twin.
No!
Little Lightning, despite being second billed, is also the far superior actor out of the two as well, so he can actually make his lies seem believable.
Listen, Thunder, what happens is you die.
At the same time, Thunderbolt isn't the only victim of Little Lightning's manipulation tactics. Not only does our villain use his wily ploys on his own manager,
How can you shoot a show without a star?
This is it.
but he also undermines Patch's help as Thunderbolt's #1 fan.
That's a good plan. Stealthy. But we don't need any of that. This is Thunderbolt.
However, it's hard to believe that Lightning ends up falling for Thunderbolt's later fake death. I mean, this is a smart corgi who earlier called his co-star an overrated overactor, so it's kind of a stretch that he'd be duped by Hero's theatrics. Then again, Lightning himself ends up adopting Thunderbolt's melodramatic acting style in order to try and avoid the dog pound at the end. Honest John and Gideon from Pinocchio, the streetwise duo, are a pair of scummy con artists who specialise in manipulating kids and selling them off to exploitative buyers. Out of all the villains in Pinocchio, these two are the most comedic toned. They're like a classical vaudevillian double act, kind of in the vein of Groucho and Harpo Marx, with John's sly, smooth talking frequently clashing with Gideon's goofy silent comedy mischief.
I'm alright.
Oh, splendid.
Although, despite this duo being more light-hearted than other baddies in the film, that's not to say that they're any less despicable. These are a pair of slinking slimeball vermin that are playing middlemen in the crime underworld. No good deadbeats that act as cogs in the child exploitation circuit and reap the benefits of catering to bigwig clients.
And did Stromboli pay? Plenty.
They're also cunningly calculated. You see, Honest John trademarks in a deception strategy that takes time and wit. He knows that he can't skip a beat when tricking his victims, and will put all of his effort into building the blocks for what he wants Pinocchio to believe.
Bright lights, music, applause, fame.
Heck, out of every villain in this film, they end up developing the most chemistry with Pinny, all because their entire shtick depends on preying on the naive wooden boy.
My boy, you are allergic.
Allergic?
Yes, and there is only one cure. A vacation on Pleasure Island.
Honest John and Gideon might seem like clowns, but they're actually stranger danger personified, and the worst influence on a puppet learning to avoid temptations. The Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. When young Alice meets this short-tempered brat of a monarch, she finds herself having to bend over backwards to keep her highness from exploding, only for the Wonderland Queen to then take our heroine to court. This villain is the very height of unhinged, a volatile woman who switches her personality on a whim, going from being a soft-spoken matriarch one second, only to then abruptly blow up like a volcano the next. We're always on pins and needles with her, because she's basically a ticking time bomb with a crown.
Your way, always here are my ways.
Keeping this maniac calm is near impossible too, because she's the majesty of Wonderland, home to characters that relish in chaos and nonsense. We can't rely on anyone to keep the peace, when the average Wonderlander is a troublemaking nutter.
Shall we try?
Oh, no, no.
Oh, but it's loads of fun.
No, no, no. Stop it.
This queen actually enjoys being angry and mean too. Sure, she gets plenty of happiness from being pampered and applauded, but she also actively seeks out excuses to be furious, or worse, bloodthirsty for an execution.
Off with her!
But consider, my dear, couldn't she have a trial?
Her childlike entitlement is so frustrating too. Everything has to go exactly her way, and she can't handle a drop of rejection or a chance of losing. Even when she's granted the important job of a judge, she's still obnoxiously immature, whether she's making Alice's case all about herself, or changing the entire structure of a trial.
Are you ready for your sentence?
Sentence?
The only time that this train wreck of a queen behaves herself is when Alice turns into a giant, and gets to lecture the windbag with a good talking to, which honestly, after what we've been through, is super duper satisfying. The coachman from Pinocchio. This sinister man is luring little boys into his theme park, only to then transform them into donkeys and force them all to work as his slaves. This guy, without a doubt, is one of the darkest Disney villains in history. A man so hideously cruel and creepy that even other villains are taken aback by his pitch black shade of evil. He's a sicko who genuinely enjoys his criminal work, and he shows that excitement as plain as day on his rubbery face.
He never come back as boys.
Pleasure Island itself finds that fine line between being appealing to kids, while also pandering to their desires to rebel and destroy, an amusement land that's so sordid and seedy that it's even willing to offer alcohol and cigars to its miners. However, it's the donkey transformations that have continued to traumatize every generation, a mutation curse that's portrayed so vividly that it all borders on horror. What's worse though, is how heartbreakingly terrified all of these kids are. Disney did not hold back on showing these children's all too real fear, or the coachman's twisted delight as a slave master.
I want to go home to my mama.
Take him back. He can still talk.
While I do think that a fable that sets out to teach about self-responsibility should have at least let a few kids have a chance to redeem themselves in the end and prove that they can learn from their mistakes, the horror fan in me does appreciate how Disney boldly went for a family film ending this morbid and nihilistic. King Louie from The Jungle Book. When Mowgli is kidnapped by a band of primates, the boy is taken to their leader, King Louie, a charismatic orangutan who wants Mowgli to reveal the secret to making fire. The simian is one dang cool ape. He's a swaggering scatman that doesn't beat around the bush about what he wants. Thanks to Louie's natural smooth charms, he has an instant way with currying Mowgli's favour. from making things personal by referring to him as his cousin, to spoiling the kid with bananas to seal the deal. The fact that this villain is based on and voiced by the legendary jazz icon Louie is what completely sells the orangutan's suave appeal the most though. Prima, despite being a musician first, was actually a decent voice actor, and his raspy pipes really fit Louie's hipness.
Word has grabbed my royal ear. Have a banana. That you want to stay in the jungle.
The jazz influences on Louie ring through into his animation too, which creatively utilises the springy flexibility of an ape while keeping in rhythm with the orangutan's groovy villain song. As laid back as Louie seems though, there's still this underlying menace behind all of his chill exterior. I mean, not only is he clearly losing his patience with Mowgli, who doesn't even know how to make man's red flour, but we also have no idea what this king intends to do with his own firepower. Louie makes it very obvious that he tires of ape royalty and desires to climb the evolution ladder, but he's never clear what kind of man he wants to be or what aspects of humanity he wants to replicate. And there's something eerie about this secretiveness. However, despite Louie's high ambitions, he's still very attached to his current monarchy, and it's actually his desperate need to protect his legacy that crushes his plans. Marina Del Rey from The Little Mermaid 3. Marina is basically the governess of Atlantica, but she's more like the royal nanny to Triton's daughters. So she plots to get Sebastian fired, in a bid to steal his job. It's quite fun seeing a villain that's less interested in being queen and happy to settle for second in command. The governess hates her job so much that a royal advisor seems like a dream promotion, and that's so refreshing after years of Disney baddies going straight for the throne. Heck, I'd actually say that Marina's yearning for Sebastian's position makes us realize how dang important the crab really is.
Sebastian, what would I do without you?
You'd be out negotiating with the sprat and the smelt, that's what.
Marina's envy towards Sebastian and drudgery of being below him leads to a great sassy rivalry, a hero and villain dynamic that's comedically like a petty office competition.
Soft shell.
Tardy girl.
Stick eye.
Fish lips.
Backstabber.
Fashion disaster.
Bottom feeder.
However, as much as Marina resents babysitting princesses, she actually ends up using this very job to climb to the top, because thanks to her early suspicions and strict observance as a nanny, she ends up discovering Sebastian's career-ending secret.
You will take over Sebastian's duties immediately.
As you wish.
Now sure, I can't say that she's as ambitious as previous Little Mermaid villainesses, but despite her low-scale goals, I have to praise her for showing a darker side once a new promotion is under threat. I mean, she has triple the eels that Ursula had, and these beasts are so intimidating that they make Flotsam and Jetsam look cute. Oh, and she even gets to go full war lady while still looking utterly fabulous in a military-inspired dress.
No!
Carr, from the Jungle Book movies. Carr is a creepy python who preys on man cubs that happens to have the power to hypnotize his victims. One thing that I love about this snake is how dang fluid he is. He's basically one long noodle who can bend and flex his rubbery body to benefit his every hunt. Carr's lead animator Frank Thomas had a field day with Carr's plasticine-like wriggly body, and there's never a dull moment because of it.
Slowly and surely your senses will cease to resist.
The fact that he's so long also works in his favour as well, as it can help him to dart around the treetops like he's teleporting, or trick anyone that tries to interrogate him.
Oh, the middle. Absolutely nothing in the middle.
Of course, it's Carr's hypnosis ability that everyone remembers the most. When you think about it, this is a rather unsettling villain quirk, because Carr is essentially shutting down his prey's senses and making them powerless to his salivating hunger. It's also fun hearing longtime Disney muse, Sterling Holloway, playing a villain for once, with Holloway's unique inflection and drawn-out S's going hand in hand with the snake's chillingly calm aura.
Man cub, so nice to see you again.
Now, Carr did return in Jungle Book 2, this time voiced by a very accurate Jim Cummings.
With a little snack.
but I wouldn't say that it was a dignified reprise. There's far less emphasis on his best qualities, like his contorting body or sinister presence, and way more attention on making him a punching bag for the movie's slapstick. Sure, Carr did get his fair share of beatings in the first film, but I would say that most of Carr's short time in the sequel is dedicated to his suffering. The sequel doesn't exactly ruin his legacy, but it also doesn't do it any favours either. The Evil Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. When an evil queen asks who the fairest in the land is to a magic mirror, the answer is Her Highness's very own stepdaughter, Snow White. So, after an assassination attempt, Miss White runs away and decides to live in peace with seven dwarfs. The first ever Disney animated movie villain was rather the amazing debut. A refined and regal majesty who moves with a strict elegance. A stunning presence made even more striking thanks to a gorgeously hyper-realistic art style and Euro-Gothic glamour. The magic mirror is what gives the queen most of her upper hand, but it's what she does with the enchanted object's replies that's special. She just has to know that the mirror still sees Snow as the fairest, and that's enough to make it connect all the dots.
And I've been tricked.
What's cool though, is that we end up getting two villains for the price of one, all because the queen later ends up turning into an old lady. Every aspect of this transformation sequence is seared into my brain, and adult hindsight has made me see why. The detailed tangibility and tattered charms of the spellbooks, the bubbling potion that reflects Her Majesty's evil expression, the pure nightmare fuel of seeing a woman age rapidly, and the oozing gooiness of the poison apple itself are all such vivid images.
The apple in the brew. Let the sleeping death seep through.
Her spectacle doesn't stop there though, because before she's even reached Snow's cottage, she gets to brag about her murderous plans, all while her morbid speech attracts vultures to the smell of death. Talk about making a theatrical villain entrance. Now sure, this old lady's design is more scary than sweet, but the queen relies on little tactics to sway Snow into eating the apple, from calling herself Granny to soften her edges, to appealing to Snow's interest in the prince.
It's apple pies that make the men folks' mouths water.
Yes, Snow was recently warned about strangers not too long ago, but it's very in character for her to show compassion to the elderly, and the queen uses this naivety to lean into a frail disguise.
I'm sorry.
Oh, my heart. Oh, my...
Despite her elderly form, Queenie does put up a good fight against the dwarfs in the finale, but all fairy tale villains must face their fabled fates. And to be honest, it is quite disturbing to hear an old lady's falling scream, even if she was evil. Madam Mim from The Sword in the Stone. When Merlin the Magician reunites with his sworn rival, Madam Mim, the two initiate a wizard's duel. Even though we have to wait until the semi-finale for this iconic villainess to make her appearance, she still manages to steal the spotlight as an eccentric sorceress with a wicked sense of humor.
Want to fight? Want to have a wizard's duel?
Like a lot of great Disney divas, Mim is full of flamboyant confidence. A woman who fully embraces her evil, gleefully enjoys all things macabre, and knows that she's a top-tier sorceress who can do anything with her magic.
Marvelous! Mad, 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 mad! Madam Mim!
I've also always loved that, even though Mim can use her magic to make herself look conventionally attractive, she's totally happy to stick to her default looks, which again shows how dang self-confident she is. While she is quite a jovial and silly baddie most of the time, I do think that there's a creepy side to her. This is a witch that treats death like it's something casual, and her nonchalant attitude to murder is kind of disturbing.
I'm afraid I'll have to destroy you. Destroy me? Yeah, I'll give you a sporting chance.
Then we have the Wizard's Duel, one of my favourite Disney fight sequences of all time. A back and forth battle that tests both enchanters at their transformation skills and quick instincts. The two switching between animal choices at a racing pace, with each creature pick changing the power dynamic at a constant whim, thus giving us a thrilling and lively game of creativity and strategy between two magic experts with a rich history of conflict. Now, sure, Mim insisted on no cheating, but it's been made very clear that this is a witch who will do anything to win, and is very certain of how amazing she is.
I win!
So of course she ends up resorting to slightly breaking her own rules, and the end result is Mim's most intimidating form.
Did I say no purple dragons? Did I?
Zerena from the Pirate Fairy. Zerena is a gifted pixie dust alchemist, but her boss fires her out of fear of her experiments, so Zerena runs away and becomes the captain of a pirate crew. Then, Captain Zerena steals special blue dust from Pixie Hollow and promises to enchant a cruise ship with the power of flight. However, once these sea crooks have gotten what they want, Captain James takes the ship's helm and traps the poor fairy. This is honestly one of Disney's much better attempts at a sympathetic villain. You see, we can feel for Zerena's struggle. She's this highly skilled dustkeeper with a passion for experimenting, yet her very own community puts a cap on her potential. Yes, experimenting does have its dangerous side. The film even acknowledges this. But it's an older peer's job to guide their student into practicing science safely. When you don't nurture a young person's gift, then you're just going to possibly drive them to seek acceptance from someone with ill intent. And that is exactly how Zerena becomes a pawn in Captain James's scam.
This is exactly where I belong, Tink.
We appreciate what she can do. Treasure it, actually.
Zerena might be a pint-sized fairy who can only communicate to humans in bell twinkles, but size means naff all to someone who has found themselves. And it's Zerena's self-confidence in the rebellious world of pirating that greatly compensates for her height.
Why are we taking orders from some fairy anyway?
However, it's Zerena's mastering of dustkeeping that gives Zerena the edge over our heroes, all because she's now able to switch Tink and Friend's talents, which effectively disrupts the fairy team's dynamic.
I can't hold it!
At the end of the day though, Zerena is a victim of deceptive sea buccaneers that are taking advantage of her need for belonging, and it is sad that she's once again rejected by a community that she wants to fit into.
Well then, we won't need you anymore.
After apologizing for her betrayal though, Zerena finds a kinship from the always welcoming Tink and Friends, plus gets to play hero while still embracing her piratey rebrand.
Simply don't give up! Yeah!
Madame Medusa from The Rescuers. This cold-hearted woman has adopted a little orphan girl called Penny, but only for the intended purpose of using the child to get hold of a valuable diamond. Medusa's entire personality and aura is honestly fantastically compelling. She's this ridiculously lanky and highly expressive nightmare diva with over-the-top drag-like makeup that highlights her big piercing eyes and snarling mouth. Under a clownish fashion sense though, is a truly horrendous monster. I mean, how evil do you have to be to take in a child, trap her in a rotting, creaking swamp boat guarded by gators, and then only let her outside to use her for cave exploring? A demanding task that comes with the constant danger of drowning or entrapment.
The water's coming in. Please pull me up.
Not until you get the diamond.
Sure, it's hard for Penny to trust Medusa because she's doing all of these terrible things, but that doesn't stop the madam from putting on a sickly sweet auntie character, a persona that's so unbearably fake that it's more creepy than wholesome.
Do you know what would make Auntie Medusa very happy?
Yes, you want me to find that diamond.
That's right, dear.
Oh, Medusa's villainy isn't limited to just ordering a kid around, because once she has the diamond in her grasp, she gets to show that she can do so much more than just bark orders, as she threatens every other character into a corner to retain control and sneakily hides said diamond somewhere unsuspecting.
Teddy goes with me, my dear. I've become quite attached to him.
Medusa is someone who relishes in punching others down, whether we're talking about little Penny or her very own pets. But The Rescuers is all about tiny characters being unlikely heroes. Despite Medusa's enthusiasm for bullying anything smaller than her, she's actually utterly terrified of mice. And it's ultimately pint-sized critters that end up foiling her abuse of power. It's also funny that, after abusing her loyal gators for the whole film, it's these very predatory minions that get her off the wicked diva. Takar from Moana. After Maui the demigod steals the heart of Te Fiti, the island goddess, the communities of Polynesia become deeply cursed, and a fiery demon called Takar takes Te Fiti's place. This immensely huge lava monster has the threat and scope of a video game boss, a really hard one. She's this scowling volcanic creature surrounded by epic dark clouds and thunderous lightning, who can restore any limbs that she loses and mold fire boulders to any size she wants. Takar is also bursting with a relentless rage-filled hate too, and this boiling aggression gives her the intimidating determination to annihilate our heroes. Even if Moana tries to strategically circle Takar's island, the monster will still keep her constant eyes on our heroine. However, as powerful as Takar seems, she's not ridiculously invincible, because she does have a weakness to water, and our hero's battlefield happens to be the very ocean. Oh, and Maui's animal transformation powers can double our hero's chances of winning too. The thing is though, we soon learn that beating Takar isn't the point of this finale, because to our surprise, Takar is actually a heartless Tafiti, which makes total sense, because this beast popped up right after Maui's heist. This goddess is Mother Nature herself, and taking her heart away has left her with nothing but roaring anger and bitter loathing. Our hero's job isn't to defeat Takar in some cool battle, it's to restore Tafiti with the compassion she truly deserves. Not every Disney villain warrants mercy, but a wronged goddess of life and creation is more than worthy of it. Sykes. From Oliver & Company, this loan shark is pressuring a man in poverty called Fagin to owe him money. Then, when Fagin fails to return the cash, he takes Fagin's idea to ransom Oliver, a kitten belonging to a rich little girl called Jenny. I've said before that I think that Sykes is the darkest Disney villain to date, and I still believe that, all because he's so far removed from Disney's usual brand and comes off more like a villain from an adult gangster film, a baddie that's rooted more in gritty realism and devoid of any whimsy. The film is never shy about the fact that this is a sick criminal from the deepest reaches of the New York underworld.
No, you don't kill him yet. What's the last thing you do? You put on the cement shoes.
He's a creepily calm crook, a very cold-hearted man who takes grubby advantage of those in desperate living conditions and does not care how hard it is for them to pay him back.
I don't think you grasp the severity of the situation.
Oh no! Oh no, I did grasp it.
This is still an experienced criminal who knows how to calculate and scheme like a pro. Like when Fagin's conscience forces him to return Oliver, Sykes doesn't immediately freak out or pop off. He instinctively kidnaps Jenny in a split second and keeps the ransom idea going, which really goes to show how good he is at making plan Bs.
Now don't cry, little girl. They only eat when I tell them to.
Although, as chillingly self-controlled as he comes off, Sykes is still human, and oh boy can he be scary whenever he goes off the rails. Heck, this is a gangster who will recklessly race his expensive car down a train track just to get a hold of his valuable hostage, all while completely disregarding how silly it is that he's up against a homeless man and his cute pets. Only for said chase to result in a demise that belongs very high up on a top 10 shocking villain deaths list. Pete from the Three Musketeers. Pete is the corrupt captain of the Musketeers and has been plotting to steal Queen Minnie's throne. So he tricks Minnie into thinking that Mickey, Donald and Goofy are his very best musketeers, so that it's easier to get rid of Her Highness. While Pete is well remembered for playing an antagonist in a Goofy movie, this is the closest we've gotten to seeing him as a traditional movie villain. And it's a role that goes to show how Disney's oldest animated baddie has always been primed for a feature, as we get a villain portrayal that's faithful to Pete's old-fashioned roots, yet also in line with this film's tongue-in-cheek tone.
I'm in such a good mood.
Pete is honestly really good at manipulating things his way. I mean, he manages to convince his most underappreciated staff into thinking they've been promoted, and then uses his quick wit to explain away the Three's obvious lack of experience.
You'll have to forgive them, Your Highness. They're like a well-oiled machine that's wound just a little too tight.
Also, that Minnie's planned kidnapping can fall squarely onto our trio if it does happen, creating the potential alibi of how can Pete's best trained men fail unless they fumbled on their own? It's sincerely kinda genius.
Oh, Princess, you're in luck. Have I got the men for you?
Even when his plan starts to show its cracks, he strategically resorts to dismantling the trio, all by working off of each musketeer's personal weakness, and then threatening each divided member with pretty dark deaths for a goofy kids comedy. However, it's Pete's inability to believe that our heroes can ever conquer their flaws that leads to him underestimating the trio and overestimating his chances of winning. Sure, he does get pretty far with his evil plan, but the scheme was bound to fall apart once Mickey and friends finally found their confidence, thus giving us a tense and thrilling finale that forces Pete to juggle fending off our underdogs while keeping his treason a secret, all under the watchful eyes of a spectating audience. As Mickey and friends go on to prove their biggest naysayer completely wrong.
I hate happy endings.
Clayton from Tarzan. This skilled rifleman has been hired to protect Professor Porter and his daughter Jane while they try to find a gorilla's nest in the jungle, but Mr. Clayton is actually plotting to poach the apes. Clayton is very much a personification of 19th century British attitudes, a cartoon caricature of the Empire's stuffy snobbiness and greedy entitlement who turns his nose up at Tarzan's wild roots and feels as if he has every right to cage up our hero's family. He's a very trigger-happy man that fails to show any patience at all as a villain, a temperament that entertainingly clashes against Tarzan's calm demeanor and sweet naivety, which can make for hilarious comedy.
No, give me that. No.
Mr. Clayton, I think I'll take it from here.
While also inspiring a gripping conflict of morality.
Not a man like you.
Clayton isn't some talentless and shallow brute though. Sure, he's thuggish and immature, but even I will admit that his sharp instincts as a hunter are exceptional to behold.
Mr. Clayton, please. What if it's a gorilla?
It's no gorilla.
While he doesn't go for the usual fake nice guy act, he does fully commit to playing up the part of a professional jungle bodyguard. Sure, as an audience, we are immediately suspicious of him, but we can also buy that the Professor and Jane bought into him just being a bloke who takes his job a bit too seriously.
You hired me to protect you, Miss Porter, and protect you I shall.
Yeah, Tarzan is easy prey for Clayton's manipulation game because he's such a wide-eyed romantic, but kudos to Clayton for how he coerces our hero's train of thought while nonchalantly acting like he's not just planted a seed in Tarzan's head.
If Jane sees gorillas, she stays?
Say, that's why she came, isn't it?
I have to say that Clayton's execution of his plan is quite clever too. From using flare guns to drive the panicked gorilla straight into his traps, to knowing full well that offing Tarzan and Kerchak is the key to weakening the nest.
I think this one will be better off stuffed.
Even though the big fight between Clayton and Tarzan is kind of short, it's still compelling to watch Clayton's confidence rapidly fall right after losing his precious gun, and Tarzan being in his A game once the climax gravitates to the treetops. Plus, dang is it rewardingly gratifying to see the very jungle that Clayton tried to reap from becoming the deadly source of the barbaric and pompous villain's end, in quite frankly, one hell of a morbidly violent death. The Sheriff of Nottingham, from Robin Hood. Nottingham's corrupt sheriff is a wolf who works for the tyrannical Prince John and acts as the brawn for the lion's fascist regime. This diabolical man has no bounds as a tax collector. It doesn't matter if you're just a kid celebrating your birthday or a beggar simply needing change. The sheriff will happily take what little money that the poor have for his boss, all while using his charming southern drawl to play off a nice guy act.
Oh, now don't take it so hard, Sonny.
Even though the sheriff commits most of his evil under the name of Prince John, I wouldn't say that he's a sycophant to his highness, because even he gets a kick out of the poor's protest song against their loser monarch.
Too late to be known as John the First. He's sure to be known as John the Worst. How about that?
If anything, I would say that the sheriff just loves the benefits of his high position role. It's less about loyalty and more about enjoying the power to punish the struggling poor or silence anyone who dares to rebel.
You're under arrest for high treason to the crown.
While the prince is too cowardly to do any kind of good fighting himself, the sheriff is happy to step forward as his personal muscle, whether that means performing archery for a trap for Robin, or taking down any heroes that try to challenge the stolen throne. It's debatable whether his brains match his brawn though, because characters can often get away with their disguises if they blow enough smoke up the wolf's butt.
Meeting you face to face is a real treat.
But, in all fairness, he can be cleverly observant whenever on duty as a taxing scumbag or a vigilant bodyguard.
Tell my pal to kiss Maid Marian, or I've just found a new pincushion.
Why, you...
Worry not though folks, because this sly smug wolf does get his deserved comeuppance in the end. So those are all the villains I'm going to be talking about in part 3. Tune in next month for the 4th and final part of this Disney ranking villain series.